And frequently, what happens is I think that in conventional training, actors are able to dig into their anger. Frequently, they're encouraged to do so, and that's great. And to sort of wrestle with frustrations and, sort of powerful primary color emotions.
And reactionary emotions.
That's right.
Yeah.
In clowning, some of the emotions that get accessed are a little different to that. The primary ones being embarrassment and shame, which are the two emotions that stick to failure like limpets.
Absolutely.
But they're incredibly creative resources if you can learn to access them with freedom and without judgment.
Without judgment, yes. And it's that's the other side of fear of failure, and the deep-seated anxieties associated with the notion of failure is shame.
That's right.
And it registering as being, we're not coping.
Yeah.
And so that's very
powerful.
Very
powerful. Difficult to move through.
Yes, it is.
I have this kind of personal mantra that guides me as a teacher in the clown world, which is that clowning is to celebrate your mistakes in public. So this idea of failing, as we've been discussing, it's one thing is to access it and to come to terms with it, and then the next stage is to learn how to celebrate it, to turn it not just to move it from an admission, which is a breakthrough of some kind, into a celebration, a theatrical event, which is a whole other level of sort of transitioning into a clown.
And I can see and hear by what you're saying that if you've never done any of this work before, you would be serving yourself very well by starting at foundation.
Yeah. Oh, you have to
work in. I would think. I may be wrong here. Please correct me. If you parachuted yourself into intermediate or advanced without having done a foundation to start that work, the opening work, that careful sort of loving work.
Yeah, that's right.
That it could be quite confronting.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve me as a teacher. It doesn't serve the individual who does it. And for the most part, I dissuade people from coming in before they've been through that first pass, because there has to be a lot of flopping, to use the technical term. People really have to flop again, so that the ego gets, kind of fractured and eventually dissolves, and a different energy enters the process, a celebratory energy, an excited, accepting, and sort of put it, just a positive energy kind of enters it.
That notion you just said of dissolving the ego, fracturing it and dissolving it, as opposed to wrestling and wrangling it.
Right.
And, stomping on it.
Right.
Because we've got to have that in our psyche.
Yeah.
We can't have it rampant and out of control.
Yeah.
It's very destructive. Yeah. But it's also when it's integrated.
That's the word. It has to be integrated.
It's an incredible source of energy and focus.
Yeah. It's not that, the goal of clowning is not the same as the goal of yoga. We're not trying to have a spiritually balancing experience. Ultimately, we're just trying to access more of our humanity, which includes those parts of us that continually mess up. And
we don't want anyone to see
or
know about.
Exactly. Yeah. So ultimately, we use all the elements of the ego very strongly in clowning, but in order to ridicule them, rather than in order to kind of protect them. And that becomes, most actors who train in clown simply become stronger, a lot stronger, because they're able to enter into situations where they don't have control and thrive, rather than have fear come to the surface and then shut down with blocked.
Yes.
So it's
or revert to technical tricks.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
To muddle through.
That's right. There is technique to clowning, but it's hidden really inside this much more emotional experience that you go through, which I prefer.
Yes.
And sometimes I have a student come to me and say, "Can you teach me how to open a door in a funny way, or fall over and stuff, and I don't do that.
No.
There are some who can, but that's not me.
Yes, there are some who can
Yeah.
just open doors in a funny way, and
That's
you just
right.
think, I hate you.
Yeah, that's right.
How did you do that? You did nothing. What did you do?
Right.